Hello, folks, and welcome to Osquery Office Hours. It is August 12th, and I hope people are having a nice summer. I think we're all Northern Hemisphere. Um, Announcements or highlights since the last meeting? I don't have anything. Sounds like maybe no one else does either. Um, Next section is an open section. Any questions, issues, PRs people want to discuss? Hi, Mike.
Hi. It's not my PR, but there's a PR for, I guess, gathering AI agent conversations. Um, it was an issue first, and I don't know if he got encouragement, but it looks like it's probably a AI assisted badge of work, right? It's um, it. Um, I would just say like I wasn't sure we would want that because it does get into a bit of data privacy concern to collect even like the conversation data that people have with their LLMs. Um, and then secondly, it's a lot of technical debt if we need to maintain and test that we can collect from a growing number of agents. They have their own formats. It's a lot like the browsers, where we have these browser tables, and maybe there's a half dozen or more browsers, and then they all change on an irregular basis. Just not great. I would ask if we could encourage them to do an extension, but that's just my vote. I don't think the final say or anything.
I haven't read this one yet, but honestly, I would have the same concerns. Um, Inside Collide, we actually sort of do this, but we do this through a JSON table, and then the actual mechanics and technical debt of how these things are configured become configuration and not underlying table debt. Um, so I think you're right on both of those points. It's also a very large amount of data, is what I can tell you from our own collecting of it.
Yeah.
The thing that
So
comes to mind for me is like what well, at first I was like, "Oh, that seems like a privacy issue." And then I was like, "Well, we collect shell history. This sounds like pretty similar to that in a lot of ways."
well, you're probably not going to provide your shell with medical information and ask questions about conditions or anything.
Oh, hopefully not, but I mean, hopefully you're not doing that on your work computer
I'm sure people are
LLM
doing that on
anyway,
their work
but they
computers.
probably are. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like this weird thing. Like, is it?
I would compare it more to like your search history. So that's the level of sensitivity where I mean, it's probably
Yeah.
more sensitive, but it's at least as sensitive as things you would Google. So your Google search history, maybe. But I think that my other complaint is probably more important to me is like, oh no, having to, have regressions every month because these things are rapidly changing and there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't read the PR. Is it mostly parsing JSON?
Um, I'll take a look now. There's 42 files changed, 5,000 new lines of code. Should be kind of a red flag, but I don't know how you guys feel.
How many lines of code?
5,000 new lines.
Oh, that's a
I
lot. That's a
mean,
lot of
that
code.
includes tests. Yeah. What is a lot anymore, though, right? Uh, I think, we need to approve the workflow that would trigger the Copilot review because I don't see one yet.
Yeah, I don't understand exactly what triggers it, I find it sometimes seems to run automatically, and other times you have to click request. And they've changed the options as well now. Now there's a light versus balanced option.
Did you choose balanced or light?
Nothing was chosen yet. Right now, the request is still there for the AI assistant chats table PR, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I didn't click workflow approve, but if you wanted to, maybe that would run the review.
I think you can
Oh,
just
I
click request
see.
from the chat bot.
You can click request, but yeah, I don't understand why sometimes it does it automatically and sometimes you have to hit request. Or maybe someone else has been hitting request on mine. I'm not sure.
I hit them sometimes. It may also depend on. I'm speculating here, but Microsoft will not run the workflows for a new thing because there may be a tax embedded in them.
Yeah.
There may be
Also,
similar things here where they're
contributors.
like, you go vet this before we run it. The whole thing feels very suspect to me because if I was going to attack someone's CI, maybe I would put up a useful PR so I got approved, and then I could put up malicious ones. But
yeah, my memory is it's not really for the safety of the repo, because the safety of the repo is managed by the way that secrets are propagated to forks. It's for, if I remember, Microsoft added this several years ago because they were finding that people were like
crypto
putting up
miners,
crypto miner kind of things. Yeah.
same deal though. You can always put up one PR and then a future one.
For sure. It doesn't, or you can create your own repo and just run free actions in that. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. There's a setting that can be changed, if I remember.
Didn't seem worth changing. Yeah, I mean, I think you're sort of right. Like, I think if we think about, what do I want to say? I think I want to say like number of files changed and lines of code feel like the wrong metric, right? Like if we do any kind of new thing and new things aren't wrong, right? We should do more new things, then it's going to involve a lot of change. So I think the question is, do we think this is a stable enough set of APIs? And is this functionality we want? And I'm not sure on either one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it does certainly seem like a good opportunity to make an extension table.
Yeah.
Like
Always
that.
true.
I mean, I think that has always been, that has always been true, where it's like, if there's uncertainty about whether something really fits into the project, like just put it into extension and then you can have it. And it can kind of be like proven out.
And I don't feel any reservations about that because it's a AI generated work. It's not like someone slaved over this, really.
Those tokens, so many tokens lovingly sent into oblivion.
Yeah, by perhaps somebody with an agenda. I don't know who Quiet Router is. Maybe they work for AI company.
I mean, I am a little bit interested in surfacing more AI information through Osquery. Like it does feel pertinent to the times.
I think our users will want it.
Yeah, but it's less
so?
clear which ones. I mean, I'm building it into Launcher.
Another thing that I usually ask about for new proposals to collect is, what do you plan to do with that information? Do you have already a detection pipeline or something that could tell you that a chat is good or bad? Are you going to store it forever? What's your plan for this? And I didn't hear that use case, but maybe people want it, but do they want it?
I mean, as I said, inside Collide, we do this, but we do this through JSON or SQLite, because almost everything we found is stored in one of those two. So we do examine chat history and skills and all those things.
So we have a large scale here. I know it's all being preserved, but no one's looking at it. It's there for audit and as a trail in case there needs to be an investigation about how data got out. They can go see if it was an AI
Yeah, we use this sort of thing to like analyze usage and kind of report on risk and exposure and things. But as Zach says, boy, this sounds like it fits in an extension.
Well, anything fits an extension because anyone could do what they want with an extension. But I mean, I have often contemplated, like, we used to really err on the side of like being really cautious about privacy, and I'm not sure that I feel that way anymore. Like, I start to feel more in the line of like, work computers are work computers, and like people need, at some point, people need to build like literacy around like the things that you do on your work computer. Like, you do not really have a right to privacy, I don't think. Does that mean we should change our stuff right now? Like, I don't know, but I'm just like more and more headed towards like, if there's clear utility and it's not like, someone adds a table that's like, show me the contents of pictures. Like, I don't see really how that, at like how the utility versus privacy thing like balances on that. But like when it comes to something like this, it looks closer to reasonable to me as time goes on. But that would be a departure from the philosophy that we have taken.
I think I'm kind of in the same place. I'm seeing a shift in industry around that, right? Like more and more there's like this view of work computers or work computers. And that's always been true, but I think like the rise of EDR software and supply chain attacks kind of pushing more and more into EDR software means that like it used to be many employers did not have an MDM and many employers did not have EDR software, and that's less and less true now.
Yeah, and I mean, even tiny employers have those things these days because SOC 2 requires MDM and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's like we're getting into a world where increasingly there isn't privacy, and I feel like there's still lines here. Like, I don't think I would want to ship a table that exposed the iMessage database, even though I know you could build that using the ATC function. Right.
Well, I mean, per my earlier example of someone searching a personal issue, maybe the issue is more like a personnel issue rather than a personal issue. If you know what I mean, like maybe you're experiencing a problem with a coworker or something, and you're this could be internally sensitive information that you are getting an opinion or ideas from an LLM. If you work in a role like that, and maybe you would expect that to be confidential. There are things at work that I wouldn't just have a meeting about in the cubicle farm here. But
yeah.
I hear what Zach is saying. I do practice that. I encourage people to leave home on their home device. But
yeah, and
these are chats. Their whole chat.
It is all challenging because as well, I mean, I think outside of the like HR issue that you're talking about there, I mean, I know organizations are also struggling with trade secrets kind of stuff, and like there is actually, I think, a movement to train people out of like treating anything that they put into an LLM as private in any way. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, but I feel my attitude's shifting.
I feel mine shifting, but it's not universal, right? Like as I think about the other AI PR we have up, the one for skills, I'm like, maybe we should just return the skill content. Maybe that's fine. But like, I don't know if I'm quite as comfortable returning chat history.
Yeah, and that feels more like the skills content feels more like the, say, browser configurations, where the chat history seems more like the browser history, let's say.
Yeah, by analogy, I think so. And I think the skill content feels muddy to me because while it is sort of configuration or programming, it smells like freeform text.
Yeah, it basically is. We use skills, and they are easily used or modifiable. They seem to shift a lot. They're not exactly like making. It's not exactly like enumerating your npm packages, but I guess that's an analogy you could use to say, yeah, it's like this other stuff. It's things you're running that maybe we would like to know. And I feel okay about that.
I mean, I would be fine with the outcome being like, yeah, we can do skills and like skill content and not do the chat history. And it's still, and the answer still always is like, you can always do whatever you want in extensions because literally you write code and we don't review it.
Yeah.
Would we feel okay exposing, just for the thought exercise, would we feel okay exposing a table that produces metadata about conversation history? Or which AIs are you talking to? How much are you talking to them?
Yeah, it's less useful. But
My hunch is not, because I think that the tech debt argument is pretty real.
Mm.
I would think that if it were just parsing JSON, it wouldn't be 5,000 lines. I have not read it, but I assume that there's something unique that it has to have, a half dozen different implementations.
I mean, we have at times shied away from things due to tech debt, but for things that people find useful, like we've done what we can. For example, Mac OS screen lock, let's say, which has changed constantly, and we've often tried to keep up with because we see the utility.
There's a juice squeeze argument, though, right? And I mean, you're right, right? Like, we should definitely incur complex tech debt if we want it, and like, we should really do the work to bring in endpoint security, which is probably 5,000 lines across a bunch of files as well. But I feel like the AI space is changing so fast right now. Like, it feels like a different sort of juice squeeze ratio, and maybe similar to that, it's like the Chromium browsers, right? Like, we sort of built in Chromium parsing support for a lot of the things, but we certainly haven't gone chasing down the million Chromium browser paths, though I will usually accept someone PRing a new path when they find one. So it smells a little bit like the Chromium browsers, right? Like, I wouldn't want to try and build rich support for every Chromium derived browser, because a bunch of those are like startups that go up and die within 2 years.
Okay, I don't want to use any more time on this PR. If we had other topics, I actually am interested in something else.
We can move on.
Well, hold on. Before we move on, like, did we come up with our, like, what are our actions?
I mean, I think my current stance, which I think is echoed in different ways, is that we have softened on the AI skills PR. I think I was probably the holdout there, but we feel a little bit more okay on bringing in skill content. But I think none of us are entirely comfortable with this AI chat PR, both for sort of privacy reasons. We recognize that that's a shifting line, and for potential tech debt reasons. So I think we want to discourage the AI chat history PR, and I will pick up revisiting the skills PR. I don't know if one of you wants to draft a message on the AI chat history one, or if I should.
I can.
Yeah, and tangentially, I still find myself wondering, would we take a JSON table?
Well, I mean, we have one, and
I know you have
like
one.
we have them in the agents that you and I ship, Seth.
Keep in mind, I know you have one.
Yeah.
But I mean, would we accept one into Osquery core?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I lean more towards yes these days than no.
Personally, I think I lean towards yes because we have a plist table, so it sort of feels.
Yeah, it's like
Knowledge.
structured data suggests there's more sort of utility than privacy violation. But again, this is all subjective and up to how it's used. And then ultimately, I think what backstops all of it is like we do our best as a project to balance these priorities, but like this is software that runs on work computers where I'm not sure if you believe that there's a right to like that level of privacy.
Part of what I'm nosing around JSON for is if we had a JSON table, then the work of parsing AI histories becomes something that you can do in SQL. So,
yeah.
Which is maybe kind of a selling point, actually, right? It lets you say, like, you know what, you want to maintain the tech debt across everything, then build in SQL. Like I like the collide JSON table a lot for that. But I haven't thought hard about what it would take to port an equivalent JSON table into Osquery. Okay, let me move on.
Yeah.
Cool.
I wanted to, I guess, vote for a review on the Java packages and JVM installations PRs from 2 weeks ago. Those are in line with the other software package and inventory tables, and these are maybe the more these are like the last gap, I think, for being able to get a great view of all of the packages on a system. I know that there's tools out there for this, and this was like the one thing that they do that Osquery doesn't.
No, I think last office hours we were generally supportive, and we just didn't review them yet. I think we were hoping to review them.
Java
and, like,
packages, I did an initial review, which looks like that feedback has been responded to, so we could take another look. I certainly think that Java packages and Java installations like make sense.
Yeah, I think we were hoping to cut a release like once some of those merged in. So
I see that they changes requested. Does that mean that we're waiting on a response from these?
No, it looks like they have responded. So now I'll kick off CI on that and further review. That's on Java packages. On JVM installations, there's an X on it, but why? The X is on the build. Those are all filling. Oh no, okay, this just needs to get rerun. Okay, I'm rerunning that. Oh, and I had also requested changes, but those also look like they've been addressed. Or have I? Yeah, no, there it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that those definitely fit. They just need the appropriate review or re-review. I think it looks like actually from my comments that I did sort of a cursory review and requested changes, and they need like a more thorough review.
Cool. I see Philip joined a call since we were talking. Did he have something that he wanted to introduce?
No, came to listen mostly today.
Okay. If we can go to the next thing, I feel like I'm introducing all the items, but um, I had this idea to um, extend our use of Copilot to triaging and security labeled issues from the other automation that fills up our issues list with thrift vulnerabilities every week. Uh, so, did anyone have opinions on that? Did anyone look to see it?
I saw that. I think it's a great idea, and I have no idea how to make it go.
So, I believe
To say that differently, if you want to make it go, please.
I would like to make it go, but it looks like this is something for people with repo settings to look at. I think that I don't know what our Copilot support plan tier is, if we have tokens limits or what do we get. I know we have the PR reviews, but that seems like a platform level feature, and I don't know, like, if I want to call Copilot from a GitHub action, does that need a budget?
Not sure.
We have an enterprise plan. Is that
We
what
have
they
a
call this?
team. It's a team plan.
A team plan?
Team plan. So we do not have a enterprise plan, which is a couple tiers up. So we're missing some of the enterprise features. But we basically have a team plan.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is very hard to understand because GitHub also comps a lot of things in public repos, but still quotes it to you. So, for example, it tells me that our current bill is $700, which is probably like CI runners in a public repo, which it doesn't bill anywhere. So it kind of like saying that it costs this much, but they don't charge it. So it's all very confusing.
I see. Looks like at a team's plan level, we might need a separate Copilot subscription, which I'm not I'm not advocating. I don't know what that would cost. I may have to create an automation that auto responds to these issues, but from my account.
Yeah, I'm looking at our licensing stuff, and I see that we have zero included AI credits.
Yeah,
And
that's what we
$0
need.
additional usage, but yet we are using Copilot somehow. So
We don't pay for this, by the way. I'm not
we don't
just eating
we
this
don't
cost. So
we
I'm
don't pay
to
for
tell you
any of
all.
this.
Correct.
There is no valid billing information attached to the Osquery account that I can see.
Well, I'm reasonably confident that's not just hiding in my credit card bills.
Yeah, I mean, it says the last payment was a failed payment for $25 in 2015.
I'm looking at like a huge matrix of check marks. I'm looking for what was possible in GitHub Actions, and there's nothing like mentioned here. There's a free Copilot free tier. So we have Copilot code review of a full PR, which implies we're on a tier above free because that's not available in free.
Well, we're on Teams. Team.
Right.
Team.
We have team plan.
Doesn't GitHub's
so
team plan automatically come with some amount of Copilot?
it looks like it comes with Copilot Business. There's so many
Yeah.
people employed in the marketing department there. Copilot Business. Okay. So I have to find out what we get from that.
and whether or not it's going to change in a month.
Can you confirm if anywhere in the settings it shows our Copilot tier separately from GitHub team as our
The
plan?
only thing I can find in the settings is our AI usage, and it says we have 0 AI credits. I'm like looking for a Copilot setting in here.
In the Osquery org,
I'm
AI
looking
itself
at the
says
org
you get
level.
1,900 GitHub AI credits per user monthly at the organization
user.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly not what our dashboard displays.
Yeah.
And your
I
org
recall it being
settings,
hard to find.
in your org settings, is there a Copilot section?
no, there's a
No.
Copilot section in the repo settings,
Oh,
but
and
it
then
doesn't
under-
look helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's only an AI usage section.
So if I go to my user account, which is associated with my org, it shows me the total number of AI credits I have available, but AI usage and credit amounts has been shown to be incorrect in GitHub in the past. So don't fully trust it. Maybe ask GitHub. But you should be able to see it if your user account is directly associated with the org. You should be able to see.
Okay, so if I compare some of my orgs, so if I look at one of the business orgs, which is an enterprise license and has more things, there is a Copilot section of the settings. But if I look at the Osquery one, there is no Copilot section. So I think all the little Copilot settings are not available in the Osquery org, which is definitely interesting because we're using it. So what I find myself wondering is whether we're supposed to be able to use it, or if that's not supposed to work, or if there's some other bit of workflow where public repos kind of just have that as a floating ability. We also see that inside stuff. So there's a lot of stuff. My suspicion is that we're not going to get any kind of reasonable answer out of GitHub support.
I believe one of the other things to be aware of is you can only have one Copilot license allocated to you at a time across the entire thing, to my understanding. Like you can't have a personal Copilot and a business Copilot. And I don't think you can have multiple business Copilots. So if you wanted to see this, you probably need to look at a user, like generate a user account that is just for Osquery and go into their Copilot section and it may show you. I'm not certain about that.
I think we did used to have the Osquery user account. I'm not sure if that exists. So,
My GitHub account should be vanilla.
my feeling is that like Copilot is a name that they put on a bunch of different things, which probably draw from different quotas and licenses. And if what you're wanting to do is like run an action that does run a GitHub action that does some AI work, that probably the thing to do is to put an API key in as a secret and then just use that API key. But that's probably not going to draw from whatever quota we do or don't have for whatever Copilot is.
Right. Well, I wouldn't be able to do that here as an employee. With the budget they gave me, I could locally run it and as me, quote unquote, respond to all the tickets on a periodic basis. That's what I could do. I just wouldn't be able to connect an automation that that runs in the service.
Yeah,
With the budget given to me as an individual.
yeah,
You
and
understand?
and with Osquery, we have the the annoying thing where we Seth has had billing for S3, I think, going to him personally, and in theory can collect from can submit receipts and collect from Osquery. I think I now have the code signing, Windows code signing billing going to me, and in theory I can collect from Osquery. In practice, I'm not sure anyone ever actually has. So similar things could be done uh, for getting an API key with Anthropic or whoever someone wanted, and then could request reimbursement from Osquery later. But in practice, it's annoying enough that no one has bothered actually.
I think it's also like there's a lot of overhead there, and by and large, as a project, we don't raise a huge amount of money. So, what would we see?
So it's unclear to me what seat this would be built to if it's per seat billing, and it's running in a GitHub action. It's not one of our users that it would run in the context of. Well, all right. Unclear. How do we do this in Copilot? So we can postpone further discussion on this as an issue. I'll do some. I'll see if I can wire something up for continuing to do it the way I do it. I do already use LLMs in my workflow. It's just a little less automated.
We're my memory is that there's functionality to PR ignores onto some of the CVEs, and then to close the issues, or is that part of your workflow?
I'm not closing any, but I've remarked on every one of them that what the exposure actually is. Sometimes it's 0, and if you want to look over those and close a lot for cleaning up the issue queue, that those could be done.
Well, closing them, my memory about the way that automation tooling works is that closing them isn't enough. You have to PR and ignore.
Yeah.
So mostly I'm suggesting if you have some automation that you're working on, might be worth adding in an ignore for the ones that we don't have exposure to. Sounds like our current conclusion is we don't know how.
What about an agent skill in the top directory of the?
I'd support
repo?
that.
Yeah. Okay, that may be what I do. Pick it in, share it. Anybody could run it, but
It
it's
seems
not
useful.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Copilot instructions are also worth creating for anybody who does have Copilot, or an agents.md and pointing to that. I'm not sure. I don't know what the best practice is nowadays for creating an instruction set for multiple different agents and pointing to it from the various different ones. Because like Claude, I've seen this trend of like an agents.md and a Claude.md that points to agents.md, but
yeah, I'm not trying to like sell a particular one, so I don't know if there's a generic, like you said, agents.md, or maybe it goes into scripts directory if we have one. Tools, I don't know. What do you think?
Usually what I've seen in other projects is an agents.md at the root. And then if somebody wants a specific one to point to it, they point to that. I've noted Home Assistant is one of those open source projects that I've seen them do this on. Trying to think if there's any others that I've really seen it regularly. Most of them are Home Assistant related.
Okay, there's a standard there. I'll look for that and try
Yeah.
to conform to that, and that's what I'll do. I'll put a PR up with the agent skill as I would have run it, and anybody with repo access to comment or close issues or whatever can run it.
That does seem like a good step.
All right. That's all I had today. So,
Zach, you've got an item.
Yeah, I have another item. So I wonder if anyone's that familiar with like how Mac OS treats memory. I did a bit of research into this, and there's limited information, and I guess just I noticed because of a customer of ours reported one person within their organization complaining about Osquery memory usage. And we were sort of looking at, well, how does the usage reported by Activity Monitor on macOS compare with the usage that Osquery sees for itself? And then notice that there's like some different ways to configure Activity Monitor to show things that it calls real memory versus physical memory and that kind of thing. And then the underlying APIs name things like wired memory, resident size, total size. And so I noted that Osquery uses resident size, which to me seems to be the closest to the actual physical memory currently in use by the process as the metric by which it does watchdog calculations. But the total size, which seems to include, I guess, stuff that's been paged out and maybe also includes like shared libraries that are loaded across multiple processes and memory mapped files and these kind of things, can be much bigger. And I guess I've been wondering, like, is it right that we're using resident size for our watchdog calculations? Should we be considering using something else? Does anyone understand these things well enough to have good opinions?
Historically, on POSIX systems, either you had like two numbers here. One of them was the amount of space you had allocated, and one of them was the amount of space you had used. So, right, like a program can say, hey, give me a heap of, 7 gigabytes, and it will use all of, 100 megs. So both of those numbers get reported in top metrics, right? There's RSS would be the actual amount consumed, and maybe VMEM or total size would be the sort of amount allocated, but it's a virtual allocation, so it doesn't cost anything. And I think that historically on Linux, there was a lot of confusion about that because people would frequently look at the wrong memory metric and make unhappy noises about it. This is for all Unix programs, not Osquery. People would be like, this thing is so big, and you'd be like, that's virtual allocations, right? You want residence size. So that was a persistent problem.
Yeah, and they're on Mac, they're similar. Like if I go into Activity Monitor and I look at an Osquery that's running on my system right now, I see real memory size 8 megabytes, virtual memory size 415 gigabytes, shared memory size 720 kilobytes, private memory size 944 kilobytes. So it's like it's clear that virtual memory is like, as far as I can tell, it's reported as like an entire address space that's available, but it's not remotely used. that amount. If you look at almost any process, it's got like hundreds of gigabytes of you know, quote, virtual memory on Mac OS. But then there's all these other numbers, and it's unclear to me what we should be pointing at. It's also somewhat unclear how these numbers correspond to the numbers that Osquery reports in the processes table, and then therefore what's used by the watchdog. Again, because the processes table reports both a total size and a resident size and a wired size, I think, although that seemed to be 0 on my system. Maybe it's set on Linux
Zach,
systems.
What I do know about this is like this physical footprint is equivalent to which column looks like. There's a column titled just memory and activity monitor, and that's the only useful one. It's like the only actually useful, like, that it really describes the RAM usage. And then so that and physical footprint, it's using it in other tools. Those are supposedly the same. It's kept as an actual value in the kernel. So it's reporting something from the kernel that ought to be transferable or something that it can be referred to from both the activity monitor and somehow from Osquery.
So there is a notable discrepancy between memory and real memory. And I mean, I don't even know what correct is here. Like, all that I think is correct is like we should be looking at the actual memory consumed, not the virtual memory, and possibly not the shared library memory, right? So it's I don't know what right is, but it is for sure confusing.
Yeah, and I guess I can see like right now I've got an Osquery process running that. Oh, hold on. Maybe I was not looking at the right one. Okay, no, that does correspond. So total size and resident size seem roughly pretty similar on the one that I have currently running, but they do differ often by quite a bit on some systems.
Zach, your article mentions that the API that retrieves footprint is using a standard library function any process can call proc-pid info and proc-pid use.
Yeah, and that's what Osquery uses.
Okay, so that should, and it should be lined up with activity monitor's memory column, is it not? Like in your reports that you've heard, is there a disconnect that they're complaining about?
The reports are a bit hazy. This is part of the issue. Is like I'm just trying to figure out whether, you know, someone's looking at numbers in activity monitor that are the wrong numbers. We're trying to get, and the problem is like we're playing a bit of a game of telephone here, where we've got like, you know, our fleet admins at an organization who are talking to an end user at the organization, and we're going like, well, can you get the, you know, when they think the issue is occurring, can we get all the numbers together at once? And like we haven't really gotten them all together at once. So we're, you know,
so this
unclear.
This blog post you linked to actually seems slightly wrong, because this blog post says the real memory corresponds to the physical memory currently in use by the process. But memory is a bigger number. Memory should include like total memory impact, irrespective of whether it's swapped out and some other things.
Yeah, real memory is like what's in RAM, not including swap. And the memory or footprint does include swap and is more reflective of the real number. But virtual stuff can include things that are not even mapped.
On my machine right now, activity monitor shows real memory is larger than memory. So isn't that like the opposite of what?
I think I was under the impression that you said it's larger than real memory. So macOS
real memory is larger than memory.
Yeah,
So,
I also see that on an Osquery process
Mm.
that's running.
memory could also include what's compressed already. So it can actually be smaller if it has done compressed memory.
Very
What tool are
confusing.
y'all using to look at memory that shows those different values? Because activity monitor on mine shows physical memory, or shows
The CPU panel of activity monitor, you can add a memory and real memory column to.
Okay, I'm on the memory tab, but yeah, you can, if you go to view, you can update the columns. If you also double click on the process, then you see some memory information there as well.
yeah, because there's also compressed memory, there's purgeable memory. Like there's quite a few.
It is confusing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this blog tries to explain what the difference is between real memory and memory. And it looks like they come like this blog claims that they come from different syscalls. Like memory comes from proc pid r usage, and real memory comes from proc pid info. And under the hood in the kernel, there's like this physmem and phys footprint. And then they talk about this issue of like, well, you're not necessarily like, this process isn't necessarily using all of that memory, because it might be including shared libraries that are loaded into multiple processes, for example. So like, how do you account for that appropriately?
Is activity monitor something we want to be basing memory utilization off of and watching? Because activity monitor is meant for average users to get an idea of what's using up stuff. If we're like, for developers in the developer portal, they say, you know, open up Xcode, use the instruments tool, that kind of stuff, which gives a lot more granular details of memory.
Yeah. Well, then I think it comes back. Then it comes back to like, these folks are reporting like, Osquery's got high memory usage. They configured it to allow Osquery to use up to 750 megabytes. And the resident size that's reported by Osquery about itself is like about 300 megabytes. The total size is over a gigabyte. So which of those is like, is actually useful?
So wired memory, also called resident memory, stores kernel code and data structures that must never be paged out to disk. Applications, frameworks, and other user-level software cannot allocate wired memory. However, they can affect how much wired memory exists at any time. For example, an application that creates threads and ports implicitly allocates wired memory for the required kernel resources that are associated with them.
This is, unfortunately, what you linked is also from 2013 and in the archive.
That's oh geez, fair.
It's probably still relevant.
It's probably still relevant, but
may still be. Let's see if I can find the newer one.
there's the wrinkle of memory compression now that may be more recent than 2013.
Memory compression sounds like some of what we're seeing, at least as the difference between memory and real. Philip, but I think one of the other overriding issues here is that historically, I've seen this in every company I've ever worked for that ships software or has an IT desk, right? Users will always say like, my machine's acting funny and here's this memory number that's very large, right? So understanding how the user-facing tools like Top or Activity Monitor report on it so that we can document and understand and respond is important.
That's fair.
We are about at time. I don't know if people want to keep discussing or whatnot. I probably have to go get some lunch in a moment.
I don't think we need to keep discussing. I appreciate everyone's insights, and I think it's clear that it's clear that there is not a clear answer as to how the numbers should be interpreted.
I think that the Osquery is doing it the correct way. That's what I believe, and I think you need to figure out what is not lining up with that. If they're reading the columns, which column they're reading, and point them to the memory column, the one that just says memory.
Yeah.
Windows might be different. I think we do sometimes see stuff on Windows where it looks like the Osquery is using a bunch of RAM, but we haven't chased it down.
Yeah, and Windows, Mac, and Linux all report these things differently. So
Yeah, though I think Linux and Mac OS are at least mostly aligned because they're both based on POSIX. Windows, I think, uses a different scheme completely. Okay, I should go get myself some lunch.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to drop. Thank you all for being here, discussing, furthering PRs and things. Feel free to keep talking. Please update the minutes if you do.
I think we can wrap it up. Anyone else have something pressing?
That's good.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the stop recording.